So I'm curious, I'm interested about the feature engineering aspect of this. Did you guys use the exact same features for each task, or did you guys use different features? Or is that something that you want us to find out by watching the videos?
It's always a good time to plug the videos, but I'll say just briefly that we've used the same features. Dhruv did a little bit of feature engineering for the most recent working session. So building on top of our baselines, we decided what's an easy way we can incorporate some extracted features from the text. And so Dhruv got some text embeddings from those. I'll let you actually talk a little bit more about that, Dhruv.
Yeah, so I guess to add a disclaimer, like the goal with the working session was more to like showcase workflows and less to build the most optimal model because we could spend weeks trying to engineer a good feature. So we went with what can we do in a relatively short period. The features we extracted were timestamp information. So I parsed the date, which is like in date time format if you're using pandas, into the day, the week, the hour, and the day of the week. So you get 4 numbers from that. And then the text features used basically a pre-trained BERT model and fed the text through the BERT model. It outputs a bunch of embeddings, average those embeddings, and that's like your title embedding, and that's the only feature. And so we're gonna experiment with those features, and then we'll see if we can even beat the baseline. If these features even help us beat the baseline before we invest more resources. Another thing we did for the feature engineering is we sampled the data. So the entire training data set is close to 1 million records. And if I were to run, like, because I was using Transformers library and like it's a neural net, like if I were to run that on 1 million records, that's a lot of compute time. And at this stage, I'm not necessarily, I'm exploring, right? So I want to be able to explore things quickly. So I don't want to wait around to compute a whole bunch of features that might end up being useless. So what we did was we sampled about like 5% of the data set, and we use a stratified sampling. And so you can stratify sample a continuous variable. So what we did is we binned the target into a bunch of quantiles, so like 10 quantiles. That's an arbitrary, that's a hyperparameter, but like that's a place to start. And we stratified based on these quantile bins. So even though we did sample only 5% of the data set, the target distribution is the same. And because we're using a smaller data set, we can run our feature engineering faster, we can run our hyperparameter search faster on this data set. And the idea is the relative performance of the different models should be the same. So as you scale up the data, this performance should hold. So if you have like hyperparameter configuration A is the best on your 5% sample, it should still be the best on your full 1 million records.